Hey everyone, today I'm going to be walking you through how to do a Latvian braid, which is this decorative detail at the bottom of this hat. This is one of my favorite little details to add to my knits because it's got an almost 3D quality where it stands up from the knitted fabric, and it's actually a lot simpler to work than it looks at first glance if you've never done it before. So before I go into the step-by-step, I did just want to show you what the braid looks like when it's finished. The braid itself is basically worked over a series of 2 rounds with a setup round that you work first. You can work a Latvian braid when knitting back and forth, but today I'll be showing you how to work one in the round like this. So I've cast on for a new hat here, and I have, as you can see, almost completed my setup round. The setup round is made up of normal stranded color work. I am knitting 1 stitch with each color, just alternating every stitch. And there's nothing special about how you work this. However you normally work stranded color work, you're holding your working yarns to the back. So I'm just going to knit the last few stitches. I just wanted to show you that it's normal stranded color work. You might hold your yarns differently than I do, but however you typically do stranded color work. So you work all the way around and you have this alternating pattern, and that sets you up for your first braid round. So what you're going to do, instead of having your yarns to the back like you normally would, you're going to bring your working yarns to the front because you're going to be carrying the strands on the right side of your work instead of the wrong side. So this is different than typical color work. You want to be holding them in the front at all times. And for the braid round, you're going to be twisting the strands around each other as you purl across your round. So to work a braid round, you're just going to purl each stitch that you come across with the same color that you knit with on the round before. So my first stitch is a gray stitch, so I'm going to be purling with my gray yarn. So I purl the first stitch. And for this braid, I want to have my arrows pointing to the right, like on the hoopla hat here. And to have this direction, I'm going to pull the yarn from underneath every time I go to purl a new stitch. So I get my green yarn, I purl, and when I go to grab my gray yarn again, I pull it from underneath. And I'm going to do this every single time. And again, this is different than normal stranded color work. When you normally work stranded color work, you never want to be twisting the strands around themselves like this. But for the Latvian braid, this is actually what gives you the decorative effect. So I'm going to work a few more stitches so you can just see I'm always grabbing my new yarn from underneath so that they get twisted around each other on the outside of my knitting. So now I've worked a few stitches and you can start to see the first half of the braid appearing here on the right side of my knitting. So that's the bottom edge of the braid on the finished hat. So one thing to note is that because you're twisting your yarns around each other every time that you knit a stitch, your working yarns are going to get twisted as you knit across the round. This is probably going to be frustrating, but this is what's supposed to happen. And you don't need to worry about untwisting it because we'll be twisting them the other direction on the next round and they'll automatically untwist. So I'm just going to work across the round and I will check back in with you when I have almost finished this first Latvian braid round. So now I am almost done with my first braid round. I have 3 stitches left before my marker, which you can see here. And you can also see at this point that I've got the first half of my braid, and my working yarns are very twisted. So I'm just going to work my last few stitches. I'm still pulling from the bottom. And that was my last stitch. So to start the second round, I'm going to slip my marker, and for one more stitch, I'm going to pull from the same place where I've been pulling it from for the first round. And now I'm ready to start going the other direction. So to continue, instead of pulling from below, I'm going to be pulling from above. So this is how I've been twisting, but this round we're changing direction and I'm going to be twisting the other way. So when I go to grab my green yarn, it comes over the gray yarn. And this mess, as I start to work across the second round, is going to untwist itself. So I'm still keeping my working yarns in the front, but as I mentioned, I've changed the direction that I am twisting the yarns around each other. So I'm always bringing the working yarn over the color I've just worked with. So I've done a few stitches now. And you can start to see a braid emerging. You can see over here, I just have my first round, and over here, we're adding the second round, and you can see this V formation taking shape. The nice thing about the second round, as I mentioned before, is that the yarn will want to untwist itself. It all comes untwisted as you work across the second round. I'm just going to work at a few more stitches and then we'll take another look at how it is shaping up. So let's check in again. Now you can really see that braid starting to appear. This is the first round of my twists here. The purl bump is in the middle, and then the second round of twists shows up here. So you will actually end up having a purl bump across the top of the braid as well, and I'll show you on the finished hat. If I pull the fabric away, you can actually see the purl stitches. But because of the 3D nature of the braid, this isn't really something that you notice. So I'm just going to keep knitting across my round here, and I'll check in when I'm closer to the end of the round. So I've been working in the round on my second braid round, and I have just 2 stitches left. I just wanted to show you that at this point my yarns are not crazy tangled anymore. They've been untwisting themselves as I've been working around. So I'm just going to purl my last 2 stitches. And that's the end of my round. So at this point, I can take my working yarns and move them to the back of the work again. And for this pattern, I'm going to continue with just my main color, my green. So we're just going to knit a few stitches here so that I can show you what it looks like once you get past the braid round. So now I'm knitting the round above my braid, and you can see the completed braid. With the setup round, the braid worked over 2 rounds, and that's all there is to it. The other thing I wanted to be able to show you is the inside of what I've just done. So what you're going to see first, these are the strands from my setup round. So this is like normal stranded color work. I have a color stranding below and a color stranding above. The gray is below, the green is on top. So you can see that they don't twist around. And that's just my normal stranded color work, and you can still see that round of knitting from the front. And then above that round, this is the inside, remember, you can see the 2 rounds where I worked my braid, they look like normal stranded color work. On the inside, they look like knit stitches. So you end up with knit stitches on the inside of the hat because you've just been purling and carrying your strands on the right side. And I can show you the completed hat because it looks exactly the same. So there's my braid. And if we look closely, we can see the initial setup round. And if I show you the inside, this is all normal stranded color work except for the section where I worked my braid. And it just looks like regular stockinette stitch in color work. So it's not actually a very complicated technique, it just takes a little time. And there you have it. A Latvian braid.